Vance Boelter is in the news a lot today, and you have to ask yourself, how is it that someone that is supposedly a close friend of Vance Boelter, and a roommate at that, would not know that he was into politics? That's what his pizza delivery best friend is saying. And it gets even more strange as one of the interviewers asks him, hey, was he into any sort of podcasts? And he just happens to mention InfoWars. Yeah, InfoWars with Alex Jones. It just is really starting to seem like this is all a joke. I know I shouldn't be saying that it is. Obviously, people lost their lives. That is terrible. You have to ask yourself, if he had this much hatred for members in Congress and state representatives, or anyone of that matter, how would his closest friend not know? How are there no signs at all that he was going to commit an egregious act of violence like this to make national news?
This video by saying that the events that took place in Minnesota yesterday are horrific. And I also want to acknowledge that I've been on a rant lately about the media sensationalizing stories. That being said, yesterday I had a client in town from out of state all weekend. And so I didn't get to participate in any of the stuff that went on yesterday. And I didn't really get to social media until last night. And I started seeing this clip go around, and it's going around again today. And when I saw it last night, it bothered me. And when I've seen it today, it extra bothers me.
I love you guys. I made some choices, and you guys don't know anything about this, but I'm going to be gone for a while.
You guys don't know anything about this? Then he doubles down and says it again and adds,
I don't want to say anything more and implicate you in any way, because you guys don't know anything about this.
what in the holiday sauce? I don't want to implicate you guys because you guys don't know anything about this. And maybe it's just the tense that he uses in it. It's very present tense. You guys don't know anything about this. Whereas if the text came in at 6:15 in the morning, like he said, it would have been after the events, which means it would have been in past tense. Or for some reason he formulated the text prior to the events, it would have been in future tense. You guys won't know anything about this, or you guys didn't know anything about this. Not you guys don't know anything about this. But then it gets even weirder.
What did the text say? Good, you missed it. I can't read it again.
And now he can't read it again? And then it gets weirder.
A photo of your phone screen like your pocket.
Yeah, I just don't want Jenny seeing it splashed on the...
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't run it big, but
Yeah, it's all right. I read it, that's...
Okay.
And now no screenshots of the text. There is something funky smelling about this whole video. Are there any psychology professionals that can weigh in on what it is that's bothering me about this? Or maybe law enforcement types that can weigh in on what's bothering me about this? My gut instinct is that he either wants to be a part of the story and is not, or knows more than he does by showing off this text message that consistently says over and over again, I don't want to implicate you any further because you don't know anything about this. I don't want to dive into conspiracy theories, but there's something about this video specifically that it's unsettling in my spirit. I've looked on Google and I cannot find very much about it on Google except the same clip over and over again calling him the roommate. But that guy was married and had kids. It's all. A little bit. I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to talk to you.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. Because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such a thing.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I was saying, no, he never talked about those. I didn't know those people. I didn't recognize their names.
Any politicians he mentioned?
Well, he mentioned Nancy Pelosi. He didn't like Jim Walz.
Jim Walz?
Didn't like Jim Biden. But
Tim Walz? What would you say about him?
well, I mean, nothing. It's just normal. Oh, I don't like this, that Tim Walz did this. I don't like that he did that.
Did he mention the protests that were planned for
He
yesterday?
never mentioned the protest.
What
do you make
Trump?
of everything that's happened here and the fact
Maybe
that
I mentioned it to him, but I don't think he mentioned anything about it.
what
What would you tell him?
I would tell him to surrender himself so he can be taken alive, because he's like my best friend, so I don't want him to be killed. I don't want him to kill anyone else, you know. So I think if I saw him, I could talk him down, but you know, I don't know where he is.
And did he listen to any particular podcasts or TV shows or anything online that concerns you?
Well, you listen to Infowars, but I kind of told us that, well, it's like 50% truth. And you know, I kind of said, don't take everything what they say for granted. I wasn't a real truthful. I mean, they're on for some things, but some things are way off on.
Did he talk much about Trump? And what did he say, if so?
I was a Trump supporter. Voted for Trump. You like Trump? I like Trump. Because he was on call for work, and he'd always say, yeah, I need rest for work, so I'm sharp. Because he was extracting eyeballs, so gotta be sharp for that.
I remember him walking out of the house, or hearing him walking out or anything like that.
Nope.
Was it unusual for him to go to bed at 7 p.m.? I mean, when you say...
Well, it depends on the shift, no? Because he is working all kinds of hours. Didn't seem odd, no.
Did he give you any emotional message, said that he loves you, besides the text messages or something like that that seemed off?
Well, he said that he made some choices. And he said, you guys don't know anything about it, but, yeah. But he said he didn't have much time to live.
Another thing to ask, do you mind if I take a picture of the text message?
Nah,
You can block out his number.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I kind of keep that private, because I read it to people, and I don't know. I just got to get going. I have to...
Is his phone still ringing when you called?
No, it's...
Go straight to voicemail?
Yeah, just voicemail. I can't, he doesn't want me involved.
Yeah.
So he's not going to call me. He's not going to receive calls from me.
Can we at least see the picture?
Well, then everyone's taking pictures. I don't know why I'm so... He sent it to me and a friend. So it wasn't just me, and I don't know if my friend would think about me sharing that with everybody. I mean, I read it out loud just so you guys could get a context of what I feel when I read it.
Yeah.
And
can you read it to us? We were in here yesterday.
Yeah, I know. But I gotta really get going.
Do you have a message for him in case he's watching? He watches. Do you want to send him a message?
Yeah, tell him I love him and he's still my best friend, and I hope he doesn't kill anybody else. And I hope he surrenders himself for the sake of his family.
You must be disappointed?
Well, yeah. But, you know, I don't want to see him killed. And, you know, if I'll still visit him in prison, I guess.
I'm sorry.
That's... What else are you going to do? But, you know, I just don't want him to give up on life or kill himself.
Are you concerned he may have already done that?
Sure.
You said that he said in recent days he made choices that you don't know about. Tell us about those conversations, please.
Those weren't that was a text.
That was a text.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything in your interactions with him in the days before this happened that made you wonder?
No, that made me call the police. The
text did.
Yeah.
But any conversations you had in the last few days prior to this, nothing seemed...
Well, like we said, we had our separate lives. I worked and he worked, and he was here, and sometimes we'd go down and we'd hang out, but we would never, sometimes politics would be on the TV, but he was never really anything that was in-depth conversation about, just comments, And
just for the record, your name is David Carlson?
Yeah, with a C.
With a C.
Because this Minnesota, and you guys don't know Carlson? Carlson. Carlson. Norwegian, Swedish, yeah. But, yeah.
Thank you. We don't want to take more of your time, so thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks for entertaining.
I just want you guys to just not say crazy right-winger gone nuts and that was all he is, It just bothers me that's his legacy. But I knew
I knew him all my life. He wasn't that guy, you know? You're gonna kill me.
Now, did you hear that? As I said before, the interviewer asked him, does he listen to any particular podcast? What a very specific question to ask someone, to say the least. And he mentions Alex Jones, which is the InfoWars show that he's talking about. Now, we all know that if you mention Alex Jones, the people will use that against you and say that this is a crazy person for watching Alex Jones, whether you like it or not. That is just how a lot of people would view this person, especially that's how the media would try to spin it. What was the real motive behind Vance Luther Boelter taking the lives of Melissa Hartman and her husband, injuring 2 other members of the United States Senate, and visiting various other homes, 4 at that? And all the homes of all these people and every person that was injured and every person that lost their lives, they're all Democrats. Now, the media is definitely pushing the narrative that this guy is a Trump supporter and that he's a conservative. And it's getting a little confusing because there's plenty of pictures of him working with Tim Walz and wearing Democrat shirts, and he's a registered Democrat, allegedly. So people are left confused, not knowing what this guy is really about. Now, it is possible he was living a double life, I suppose. He had a very nice house outside of town. Looks like it was on some property, some acreage. And seemingly he was doing well. But why would you be living with a roommate in another house? That itself is very strange, and it gets even stranger. Something's not adding up. Let's keep it going. Now, authorities are saying that there was not a manifesto, which to me is not surprising if you look at it in this way. Now, obviously, there are tons of stories where you can go back where people did crazy violent crimes and did have a manifesto, so they can tell the world why they did what they did. But if someone was getting paid to do something, or they had some other agenda at hand, and they didn't want to leave any evidence behind, they wouldn't have a manifesto. I mean, it's not really rocket science, right? But you just have to wonder, is he some sort of sleeper cell? Or did he really feel like he was going to be some sort of Batman in the night and take out a whole bunch of people and just get up and leave his entire family, leave all of his kids and his life behind?
Discussing the idea that they are going to press federal charges against the suspect in the murder and attempted murder of state lawmakers.
On our state and our elected representatives. Political assassinations are rare. They strike at the very core of our democracy. But the details of Boelter's crime are even worse. They are truly chilling. It is no exaggeration to say that his crimes are the stuff of nightmares. Boelter stalked his victims like prey. He went to their homes, held them out as a police officer, and shot them in cold blood. Now, there's been a lot of information and misinformation out there about Boelter's crimes. We have filed a detailed 20-page complaint and affidavit that sets forth what happened in this case. I'd like to share some of that information with you now. In the early morning hours of June 14th, Boelter went to the homes of 4 Minnesota state politicians with the intent to kill them. Boelter first traveled to the home of Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman in Champlin, Minnesota. Boelter arrived at the senator's home disguised as a police officer. He arrived in a black SUV with emergency lights turned on and with a license plate that read police. Boelter wore a black tactical vest and body armor. He carried a flashlight and a Beretta 9mm handgun. He also wore a hyper-realistic silicone mask. Senator Hoffman had a security camera. I've seen the footage from that camera, and it is chilling. Boelter knocked on Senator Hoffman's front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police, open the door." Senator Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, came to the door. When they opened the door, Boelter shined the flashlight in their faces and said there had been a shooting reported in the house. Boelter asked if they had any weapons. When Boelter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop. You're not a police officer. Boelter then announced, this is a robbery, and forced himself into their home. When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Boelter out and stop him from entering his home, Boelter shot him repeatedly. Boelter then shot Miss Hoffman repeatedly. Boelter fled the scene, and the Hoffman's daughter called 911. Unfortunately, the Hoffmans survived, although they remain hospitalized. After shooting Senator Hoffman and his wife, Boelter traveled to the home of another Minnesota state representative in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Video surveillance showed that Boelter rang the doorbell at the state representative's house at approximately 2:24 a.m. on Friday night. Again, he was dressed as a law enforcement officer, wearing a tactical vest and body armor, carrying a handgun and a flashlight, and wearing that same hyper-realistic silicone mask. Again, the images, as you can see on the screen, are haunting. Now, fortunately, the state representative was not home. She and her family were gone on vacation, and so Boelter left. Boelter then traveled to the home of a Minnesota state senator who lived in New Hope, Minnesota.
So this is just the craziest story ever. We really don't have any motive at all for why Butler did this. It just doesn't make any sense. All we have is a crazy pizza delivery guy that's trying to get some fame, claiming that Vance Boelter sent him messages saying to tell the world that he doesn't know anything. Like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it for one bit. I can't quite tell if he's actually his best friend or if he's just covering up for him or if there's some sort of fabrication going on in this entire story. But as soon as I find out, I will let you guys know. You watch the Unexplained Outlook. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.